I'm opening. We have an eye, sort of a nostril, 2 teeth. One of the teeth has a small cavity. Close call, folks, but I think we got here just in time.
Presented by Maria Menounos and Kevin Undergaro. This is Anatomy of a Movie. In-depth discussions and breakdowns of various movie titles. And now that you've seen the movie, let the dissection begin.
Oh, there we go. That's how appropriate that we start off with that. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another Anatomy of a Movie. I'm John Comerford. I'm joined on the big panel by Sara Stretton.
Hello, everybody.
Phil Svitek.
Hello, hello.
And helming the booth is Stephen Lemieux. Thank you very much for helping us out, Stephen.
Hey, guys.
So, Saving Mr. Banks. Was it, did you find it chimchimery, or was this medicine too hard to swallow even with a spoonful of sugar?
I mean, I wouldn't say it's the most chippest movie in the world, but I did really enjoy it. I thought that they had a good balance of fun and character development, and I was very intrigued by the stories and the characters, and I really liked it and liked everyone involved. So I'm all in for this movie.
I thought it was a perfect movie. You know, in the sense of
perfect.
Wow. In the way they told it, I thought that you definitely knew that you were watching a movie, but it was beautifully shot, it was beautifully told, and things like that. And I believe this is the first movie that we're going to talk about that's the making of a movie.
Yeah.
So we're going to be dissecting the dissection of a movie, which is going to be
very
interesting.
Meta.
I mean, it's
Very
still
meta.
a screenplay. It's still actors.
Yeah.
It's still
Yeah.
all of that.
Well, I think it certainly delivered on what it promised. I mean, you're getting exactly what you think you would get out of it. I mean, it's funny. You certainly get the tears, and and then actually you get even a little bit more, because I had no idea it was going to have some sort of that depth that it did.
I did too. I knew what the story was about, and I grew up with Mary Poppins as the Disney film. And this film obviously gave me kind of a different interpretation of that movie, and it added its own different themes about family, about alcoholism, about all these other layers, which I really enjoyed, because it wasn't just the making of, it wasn't just an explanation of why they made it. It really dealt into people's lives, but also gave you a larger picture scope. So I liked it in that sense.
Yes, because just that something that is a great childhood memory of mine, and of many, Mary Poppins, and you realize that came out of a hell of a lot of pain for somebody else. And I thought our childhood memories, which are great, are coming off the pain of somebody else. How wonderful.
And the relationship that this movie has with artists and how they create, and the relationship between characters and their development. And I believe there was one line that one of Tom Hanks' lines was about how not only are they family, but it's a release. It's a release for them to fix the world and these characters they create. And I just thought that was beautiful and a beautiful message.
Well, we have lots to talk about. Phil, you've done tons of research. I don't know how many pages of notes you have over there, so I'm anxious to hear what you had to say.
Well, we have a very close friend named Andrew Lee, who owns Lee Apparel, and they license out to Disney and things like that. And he's a huge fan of Walt Disney, and I wanted him to be part of the panel. Yeah. But unfortunately, he could not. So I had to do him a great service by doing a lot of extra research.
Because you know he's going to be listening, and he'll be making sure that you get this stuff right.
Okay, so all the Disney trivia, all of those we're going to pass to Phil.
Oh, absolutely.
So
he's going to verify everything.
I'm the historian here today.
All the people who know everything about Disney.
All right. So let's start off by how this thing became a movie. We're going to talk specifically about the actual, the road to it becoming a movie, rather than getting into the history or the story of it. Let's just talk about how it became a movie, because I think, if I'm correct, it's Ian Colley that started this with basically a documentary of P.L. Travers and her history and all that kind of stuff in Australia. And then from that, he realized there might be a picture involved, or a film, a biopic or whatever. And he brought in Sue, if I'm not mistaken, to help write this.
And it was brought in outside of Disney, completely written separately. Yeah. And then from there, it's obviously very famously been blacklisted. And
for those who don't know the blacklist, if you want to elaborate on that. Sure, elaborate on that, because a lot of people may not know that.
So basically, the blacklist is a bunch of screenplays that are voted on for being fantastic, but no one makes them.
Yeah, they're supposedly the 10 best movies floating around Hollywood that haven't been made.
Exactly.
And every year they come out with this blacklist.
And everyone else is wondering, why aren't these being made?
Yes, that's amazing. It's
this
amazing.
one, to me, I completely understand why it was on that list. There's a lot of hurdles involved with this screenplay. One of which...
What?
I I don't know. Disney, protective brand that owns the world.
Yeah.
That could be part of it.
Which is very close to the vest on what they want to allow people to use in terms of licensing. Go ahead.
And so she was very accurate. I mean, Sue made a point to say that if Disney hadn't picked it up, no one ever could.
Yeah, I don't know how you could get it.
Just because of licensing and just the arrangements and all the legal stuff behind this.
And I found that interesting too, because they even wrote the script knowing that we're writing into the script the ability to use some of these songs when we have no idea whether or not we're ever going to get them or have the rights to use them, but that we're going to use them as our motivating factors for our actors.
It's just one of those things that proves sometimes if you don't put all of those restrictions about what's possible and what's impossible in the creation of a film or whatever, then it turns out great, because like you have to push through and you have to find those things, but you're not putting those limitations on yourself before you create it. You let yourself create it. You let yourself have this world.
Write the best thing you can and worry about the rest of it later.
Well, I think for Kelly, when she got involved, for her it was going to be about forgiveness. It wasn't going to necessarily be about the negotiation part of it. And so when you come into it from that perspective, you do want to write the best screenplay possible. And that's where it stems from. It's like, okay, well, if we're going to do this, I have to use the music, and that's what she said. There was a choice in my mind. I had to,
which is very interesting because the music had nothing to do with P.L. Travers, because obviously the music had been written, it had nothing to do with her history or why those characters became what they became. But I just love that they found a way to use them and help support the story that they wanted to tell.
I completely agree. Also, the music, along with some of their shot choices really brought you back into that world of Mary Poppins and the one I remembered.
Right.
So every time a song came up, it did remind me that they were making this effort to make a joyous film, and a film that really did last. With, I think it grossed over 100 million throughout years. It's like 102 million, and so this Mary Poppins impacted a lot of people, and every time one of the songs would come up, I was kind of reminded of that. Also, when they had like the shots, there were of picking up the carpet bags and of her feet, and that reflection and those parallels they brought from the original film, I really like.
Well, just even we opened up with a spoonful of sugar, and in the movie, there's that line. This is going to be a very iconic song. People will be singing it for weeks to come. Yeah, and that's why I wanted to open up with that, because I asked the people that I was with, and I was like, "Is that your favorite song? Is that what you sang?" Yeah. It was. And, to have that foresight then, and obviously to bring that into the script. We'll talk about all the golden nuggets.
You didn't also like how that was like, she used that line before they wrote the song?
I did.
How she asked for a spoonful of sugar in her tea? Come on, draw notice to it.
What else was I going to say? In terms of this is Emma Thompson said it about how she kind of approached the character, but it does go back to the script, how there's no clear arc for the character, and at times she tends to be inconsistent with the way she is. And I like that, because again, it is it's a little bit different from most movies.
I usually have a clear arc and everything there, but I didn't agree with that so much, because for me there was a clear arc. I understand that she was inconsistent, but people are inconsistent. They're not always, it's one of the things that confounds us about being human. But what I liked about that is what you liked about it was different. But I could see, because she was on this, the whole thing was confusing and confounding to her in sense of she's in this play, and I know we're not going to talk story, but the character itself, because of where she is in her life, she is being batted about a little bit by life of where she is. So that's why I thought that inconsistency made sense. Yeah. And even though the final thing was about forgiveness, she couldn't get to any of that forgiveness until all this stuff she had gone through all this other stuff.
And I think that one of the reasons the inconsistency worked so well and we were able to like her through it was because they did have the dual narratives going. Yeah. And because they brought back the flashbacks that were giving you insights as to why she was acting that way.
Because she's so prickly.
Exactly. That made made her more endearing. It made you see her creative side and that she did have this imagination and this love and this potential. So the inconsistency that Emma Thompson was playing, I felt I was more inclined to accept and enjoy because I was getting the reason why she was that simultaneously.
And if I can, I want to point to when we talked about Gravity, one of the points I was making about that particular character, the lead in that, she was obviously in pain, but we didn't really know anything about what was going on until way late in the movie. So it was, for me, it was hard for me to understand her, relate to her. This one, because of this dual narrative going on, I understood her, even though I thought she was a horrible person to a large degree. You understood that she was in a hell of a lot of pain and why, So I think you could relate to her better.
Exactly.
In terms of this, again, just going off of the idea to make this a perfect thing, the actors really felt it was complete by the time it got to them.
The story, you're talking about the script.
Colin Farrell said, when it came to them, it was nice to get a complete script, unlike most things that he's worked on where they're still rewriting it after he's shot everything.
Yeah, exactly. They're rewriting it after.
So, to get that, it was a breath of fresh air because they could approach the characters knowing what was going to happen.
Yeah, with a very full script that had gone through, it's at least 10 years.
But also you kind of have to. I mean, when you're dealing with real people and a real story in the making of, you kind of have the story already laid out for you. I mean, it is a script and there are layers that the writers put in, but you have to make. Here's the
thing, what the director and everyone else compliments Kelly on is that she made the right choices. Right, story's all about the choices you choose not to include versus the choices you do choose to include, and they felt that she did it very wisely throughout. Because they joked about it. I mean, how many hours could be spent? How many hours could be spent just in that room?
Right.
And how boring could that actually be?
Yeah.
Because it could be quite boring. And so she made very specific choices, and the way and the beats. Overall, I thought in terms of beats, it wasn't a typical story.
Mm-hmm. So you felt it was different than usual. So that obviously impressed you and surprised you.
Yeah.
And you liked that because I know you hate it when they have the typical stuff, which is so weird because it's a Disney movie. You would expect it to have a lot of typical.
Well, it had the typical in terms of messages and things like that, but then the way it was told, was different.
Yeah.
Specifically, you're talking about the two narratives, about the character work?
Right now, specifically about the narrative.
Okay.
And I thought at first, when I saw the two different worlds, there was a point where I was getting bored of it and I didn't understand. I was like, okay, this is going on a little bit too long. I get it, but I don't need to be hit over the head. And then when the two worlds collided, literally at the county fair with that song, just great filmmaking in general, but it literally symbolized, collision of her worlds.
Exactly.
And so she chose the right moment. I give a lot of effort, a lot of credit to that because it was the perfect moment to do it.
So her past coming in to collide with the future or her present. But a lot of, not a lot, but a few critics I've read have talked about how they didn't like the structure of this, and I can't understand that. I didn't have any problems with the structure of this. I was just like, wow, it's an easy thing to follow. I don't know why anybody would have issues with it. But did you guys were you at all thrown by it? The dual narrative or the way that they...
I wasn't thrown by the dual narrative or by like the actions going on. I think that one thing that was given away to me beforehand was that her father was struggling with alcoholism. And so I knew that going straight into that world before he pulled out the bottle, before the mother found it in his jacket, any of that, I already kind of knew that. Without that, I think I might have been confused for a little bit. But as I said, I thought it really supported Emma Thompson's character, and I liked they needed it. It was also interesting to me that it was very visually different. Like color-wise, it had much more of a dreamy effect where everything does seem childlike and happy, and it's this fantasy world. But I thought that that's still connected to Disney, and to me, the film as a whole worked with the two narratives, with the styling, and although they were different and definitely clashing, it didn't bother me.
Yeah, I didn't understand that critique at all because I didn't understand how anybody could be confused by it.
I mean, was the worry that it's for a PG-13 audience, and so they might not get. I don't know.
Anyway, I can't. I'm glad that you guys didn't.
I mean, do you think this was really targeted to people though that were under 13? I think that.
They made very just in terms of Tom Hanks alone. With this ties back to Walt Disney himself, where he thought his public image would go down with his, if he showed himself actually smoking.
Yeah, if he ever.
And in order to be a PG-13 movie, they could show him finishing his cigarette, but never taking a puff.
And he had to fight for that. Tom Hanks personally had to fight for that.
Well, Disney wouldn't sign on. That's the only. They had like a couple qualifications. That was one of the qualifications. You can never show him smoking, not inhaling. You couldn't show him inhaling. That doesn't mean you couldn't have the cigarette.
But the point of that is that obviously they wanted to get the PG-13 rating. Why in the world would this Saving Mr. Banks be an R-rated movie? Just because it's, you know what I mean? And so they want to go for that younger crowd.
Well, yeah, but
it's a family movie. It came out during the holiday.
Clearly, yeah.
But I guess I personally don't picture this as like a children's family movie. I do picture this as, I would say I'm like on the younger end of the audience.
Well, what I've read is that there have been a lot of parents taking their kids to it, 10, 11-year-olds. Yeah, absolutely. Not kidding you. They've all have asked us, like, is it appropriate? Because they think it's about Mary Poppins in some way, but it's not a Mary Poppins movie, and I don't think it's made for kids at all. I think it's an adult movie.
I do.
But I don't, it's
But I don't think
not an R movie.
Yeah, but what prevents it from kids?
Only
being
because
able to,
I think they would get bored with the fact, especially the Australia stuff is like, that what there's kind of fun, but they're adult themes. And
I mean, for kids, it's one of the great conundrums of this movie. Do you see Mary Poppins before you see this movie? Do you see it after?
Exactly.
And especially if you've never seen it, then you're
how do you have
that's
any
the big
kind of,
choice.
that's what I mean. If you don't know Mary Poppins, does this movie hold up for you? Because let's face it, the music is in, the whole thing's about Mary Poppins. But even from the script level, they would, we'll talk about the golden nuggets that they inserted throughout the whole movie, but they were very conscious to be like, okay, it needs to be a standalone movie. If someone saw this for the first time, it would have to make sense. And for people who know Mary Poppins, it would make a lot more sense and be, again, it's golden nuggets. Yeah, you just get a different layer. You get an added layer knowing, that song's from so-and-so, and yet it's being used for this character's motivation. And so it still works as a standalone. You don't have to know Mary Poppins at all.
Yeah. That I agree with, but I will say that this isn't for like children. The themes, the content might not specifically be vulgar or anything like that, but the themes to me are for an older audience.
Well, I'd say an adult. I don't know. I assume you mean older, just older than children.
Yes.
Not like 55.
I'm talking about when you have Frozen out there right now. And
I
you
see
have
what you're saying.
Brain
Okay, fair
and
enough.
all those that are family movies that kids bring their...
But don't you find it weird that they're taking their kids to this? Because I would go, why would the kid be interested in this movie?
I see this being as a kid's movie.
Really? Okay.
Except, the only part that I didn't know when I was going to bring this up, but P.L. Travers, she believed there was 3 stages of a woman.
Oh my God.
No, because it's funny to me.
Breaking this out now? Okay, go ahead.
I'm breaking it now because we're talking about how there's nothing bad in it, and when you think about this quote, you start to wonder what
about the author.
What bad stuff really is there? So the 3 stages of a woman,
according to
P.L. Travers,
is a nymph, a mother, and a crone.
There you go.
And I think we get all except I guess with the exception of the mother.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. Maybe you guys can make an argument for. We get at least the 2 in the movie. You can pick the nymph ones if you want.
Get the mother.
You definitely get the mother.
In the
okay,
movie,
then there
the
you
mother
go.
of her.
Exactly.
Almost committed suicide. That mother.
In the river.
No, but I'm talking about her
particular stages.
Her, yes.
Well, you can argue that she mothers Mary Poppins, the story, her creation, and how she guards it with her life and everything. You can argue that that's very motherly.
Yeah.
Because she was trying to protect it. So you can argue that. So
there you go. So we got the 3 stages of.
There you go. And we don't know the context in which she wrote that or said that, but that I think it's an interesting. It's a little
for whatever reason, that's the context that is remembered, and Emma Thompson keeps referring to it. They all keep referring to it.
Well, it's very provocative. Let's put it that way. So. Do you want to say anything to that? Being the only woman on the panel at the moment.
To me, it kind of fits P.L. Travers' character, where it's just very blunt and straightforward.
Yeah, very much.
There's a part of you that likes it because you're like, okay, you have to kind of take her for what she says. And then the other part of you's like, can you be a little bit more polite and give us some gray area? The gray area we kind of need that sometimes.
Oh man. Okay. Well,
I can picture her saying it quite clearly.
Okay. I want to wrap up with the production part of it in terms of how it got to the movie, just with a couple of things. I had read that Disney, of course, obviously came in to be part of it, and for a while had purchased it and shelved it and put it in turnaround and then brought it back or whatever. But they weren't really involved in the final of this, or they were. Obviously, they had discussions with John Lee Hancock and the writers and everything like that. But apparently, there wasn't a lot of imposition. Did you guys read this a lot? Because normally, you would think they'd have way more control over what they were allowing.
You have that person just sitting over the shoulder,
that's
just waiting.
It's not just Disney. No. It's Walt Disney you're portraying and all this other stuff. This is the first time Walt Disney's ever been portrayed on film, so it's like...
I think he was portrayed once more in a supporting character in, 1941.
Okay, I stand correct, or sit corrected.
Or something like that.
There's the fact that, with Tom Hanks having such a close tie to the whole thing, to Disney specifically... I don't know. You just knew he was gonna do the right thing by them.
Oh, by Disney?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know when kind of what came first or whatever, but
He came, I believe. What do you mean? What came first?
In the sense of when they gave kind of approval and kind of stepped back. What I don't know exactly the timeline. Was it once Hank got involved? Or
yeah, that's a good
this
question.
Is what I will say.
Go
Although,
ahead.
like, I did read similar things that Disney wasn't really, making a checklist of what was okay and
they
what
didn't do a
wasn't
bunch
all
of
the
notes,
whole
which is
time.
weird. I worked for him. Anyway, go ahead.
I did think it was interesting that they opened up the archives and gave the actors the access to that to make these characters really full, and I think that's
and so did Travers.
Yes, and I think that's what gave
estate.
Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson these fully lived characters, because they really could research, and that wasn't blocked from them. That was given to them freely. Like, Tom Hanks had access to the museums, he had access to recordings, he watched like everything Disney recorded on his TV broadcast.
But here's his problem though. It's all Disney being Disney.
Yeah,
it was.
I don't know how much of it
he
was
had both.
behind the scenes.
He had both, but what I'm saying is there's so few moments of Disney not being welcome to. Oh yeah. It was very tough for him to get a conversational sense of Walt Disney. And for those moments specifically, he said there was very few instances, and he was able to pull from that, but then also he kind of drew just from memory what Walt meant to him.
And his relationship with family, and I think you can get some idea of who he was from obviously the interviews he had his daughter to talk to, and the choices Walt makes in how he created his life, and how it gives you insight into who he was as well.
Well, fair. Apparently that didn't quite work for Tom. Is all I'm gonna say.
Fine.
He said it multiple times, is that he had a tough time finding the golden nuggets. He didn't even know where to begin for it. He literally felt like a coal miner, just digging and digging and digging.
Well, it could also be that there's the amount of information of Disney the mogul or Disney the guy on the TV, that's voluminous, but there's probably not much behind the scenes stuff. So in that's why you'd have to be the miner. Yeah. How do I sift through all the stuff that's already out there and that's in it? But how do I get to the real guy?
I mean, just take this in general, right? We'll talk about Sherman specifically being kind of a liaison to this movie.
Yeah.
But
one of the Sherman brothers, who was the lyricist and composer that wrote all the songs.
Correct.
So basically, the role that Emma Thompson was playing, he was doing for this movie. You could make a whole nother movie.
There's another one. It's so meta.
So meta. But he was saying. What was my point?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just trying to give people context.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
But the point was that he didn't understand. He didn't understand Travers, and so had he known the story, it would have been much easizer for him to accept. And so sometimes in terms of Tom, sometimes it is tough to dig through that.
Right.
Despite because that's just the tip of the iceberg. But who is the real person?
Yeah.
Now with Travers, you got just this bitchy woman,
right,
who apparently believes in 3 stages of a woman, but there's so much more.
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I loved about the movies, because you get her. She's so hard to come. She's so bristly that you can't really get close to her in any way.
I loved her.
Well, I thought I loved her too.
Within like a minute.
Well, sure, yeah, but if you're trying to work with her and all you're getting is that, it's real hard to be collaborative with that. I mean.
True.
Okay.
I don't want to work with her. I just want to watch.
But that's exactly. I loved watching her. I thought it was wonderful that she was just so unlikable to some degree, and it's so hard to work with. But as you get to know her and understand her, then you can start to see, and that's what made the movie. Because it's just really unpeeling the layers. And by the end of it, she's still prickly. She's still that bristly and all that other stuff. But because you understand her, I think you enjoy her. She's more endearing.
And I thought the writers and the composers themselves, while they never understood why, at least they understood the quirks, right? So Sarah's wearing red, so like, okay, no red. No, they just understood the rules under which she lived by, and it was like, okay, here's our checklist of what not to do. So let's
try to navigate the minefield so we can get out of this thing alive.
It's definitely not a musical.
No.
Well,
or the animation part when what's his name spills the beans. No, they're animated.
Just storms out. No, all of those things. Those are great moments, especially the introduction. And that was, I believe, drawn from her real first life interaction. When she went into the interview, she was like, this is not going to be a musical. First thing she said. And you just got all the guys who've been working on it so hard and their faces just dropped. So I like that they pulled that crazy moment from a real life experience.
Yes.
Now, there's been a little bit of controversy about a lot of people, not a lot, I keep saying that, but there have been few people talking about saying that this is just a way for Disney to, re-market Mary Poppins. That this whole movie is, who cares, because it's just them trying to get the Mary Poppins hot again. And I went, what? Any
First
thoughts
off,
on that?
okay. First off, so what?
Yeah. Because that doesn't mean the movie's not good.
Yeah, and then second off, if the movie wasn't good, then it wouldn't make people want to see it, right? And this
Correct.
movie honestly is good, and people are liking it. People want to see it, and so I don't buy it.
Honestly, what I think is more than anything, I think it's done a service to the books rather than just the movie. Because I know a lot of people that love Mary Poppins never even knew it came from a book.
Yeah, I didn't know it came from a book.
There you go. Case in point.
And now, do you want to read it?
I'm kind of scared to read it because I'm like, okay, how did people like this book if this is the woman?
This is the woman who wrote it, yeah.
And she
but aren't
has
you intrigued?
she has such a not cheery disposition.
Yeah, but aren't you
life.
intrigued by the book? It's like, wow, how different are the books? Don't you want to know that?
I do, but I'm
sparks your
scared.
interest.
Yeah, I'm scared.
He doesn't want to burst his bubble. Yeah.
I would agree, but I think that you have a very good point. The whole thing about it sparking interest is whether or not it's good.
Yeah.
Like the things that you see, like the cash cows, or when they make like Lion King 9, and then you're like,
Which, by the way, was a lovely.
all this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you think, okay, they're pushing the envelopes.
Yeah.
But this is a new creative
I don't-
perspective about
exactly.
dissection, and it's done well and
Well,
really lived. So I'm
And
not
there's a-
really
here's the-
blaming
I find
for
with-
anything.
Much like there's passion for making Mary Poppins, right?
Right.
And everyone endured for that.
Yeah.
Here, everyone just has a clear passion for wanting to make this movie.
Yeah.
Right? We talked about Kelly, the writer, the director, Emma,
Collie, one of the
Tom,
producers.
Colin, everyone. You know, they all love this script.
Yeah.
Wanted to be a part of it. Emma joked about it, like, "Hey, I'll do this for free," and they're just like, "Whoa,
Just kidding.
We're not, yeah,
Yeah.
not doing
But
it for free."
the argument is, when I hear that, I go, are you kidding? So you're going to tell me that the person, Ian Colley, who first came across this story and thought it might be a good movie, and then he brought in Sue Smith, they went, let's see how we can help Disney promote Mary
Exactly.
Poppins.
And they weren't part of Disney when they wrote it.
Exactly. They didn't even know if they could get the Disney songs. Where are you
can't-
coming up with this idea?
I mean, on the one hand, you do have Disney who went in and was like, "Oh wait, this could be a
Oh,
good
sure,
idea."
of course.
But they're a business, and it's a good product.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's kind of funny. But and who cares?
don't make things that'll make you money.
Because
That's
here's
not
the
what you're
ironic
supposed
part,
to
though.
do.
Here's the ironic part, though. Had Disney not done that,
Yeah.
what do you think people are like? Oh, wait, where can I get Mary Poppins? I want to see Mary Poppins again. You know, it's just going to be a natural reaction
and-
if the movie holds
And
up.
not only that, but if Mary Poppins was a crappy movie, no one would care.
Yeah.
So, but
Exactly.
obviously, it's brought a lot
You
of joy
have
to a
to
lot of
have-
people. So who cares? But I just find that when people are, and I'm going, what is their point for
You
making the
can't
argument?
attack someone who's a business for making
trying
money.
to make money.
100%.
How dare you?
At the end of the day, we can't attack the people that are making these claims because they want a business and they want to sell paper.
Yeah, that's true.
So
Yeah.
we're only
Fine.
attacking
Well, I don't-
the people.
Endless circle.
No, they weren't in business in a paper because they're not making any money.
There you go.
I don't know.
Well, online, whatever
yeah,
it is.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Let's get more into the screenplay because we've talked obviously somewhat about it. What did you think now in terms not how it became a screenplay, but just what did you feel about the screenplay? Because
Like scene-wise, going
yeah,
into
just
scene dissection
scene to
and all
scene
of
and
this.
just
Go ahead.
obviously I know Phil's.
Phil's
He,
opinion.
Phil's. He
I
He thought
thought
it
they in terms of the images, you know what I mean? Obviously, anytime you write a script, you know it's going to be translated to visual elements.
right.
And some of the best screenplays are ones that, ironically, are more visual rather than dialogue. And I
Yeah.
thought that the images that they chose and the way they were able to use them throughout the movie, Mickey Mouse in particular,
Oh.
Yeah.
It's just mind-blowing.
Well, see, that's what I was talking about, the clear path you have in terms of her arc. You see her, the first time she comes across Mickey, the doll, she wants him. She's confronted with him on the bed. She's freaked out by it a little bit, get the thing out. She puts him in the corner,
timeout.
gives it a timeout, and I can't remember the line she says, but it's very dismissive.
You can stay here. or
Exactly.
something.
And pretty much at the midpoint of the movie, she's, she's been thinking about her past, and she's in some emotional turmoil, and she brings him into bed and basically
that's it.
uses him for solace to try to, kind of keep in touch with herself and whatever. And by the end of it, he's escorting her down the aisle to her
Yes.
premiere. So you get to see that nice parallel, and you get to see the arc right there.
And he
Right.
is the comfort, and that is also a message of Disney, and I think that's
Yeah.
one thing they were good at, but unspoken, very true. And the
and he came to
parallels
life.
between it.
At the end,
And-
he came to life.
Yeah, so
Uh-huh.
yeah, so
You
it's
know,
not just this
Much
the
like
horrible thing.
her story.
Yeah.
You know.
So I thought that was nice.
about
The
you,
reuse of images was very, very nice. Carpet bags, stick tree houses, all of those things were really nice. One of the things that I really liked in the screenplay was the addition of the character Ralph.
Ralph, right? Yeah.
I loved Ralph's storyline.
Do you have any knowledge of whether or not he was based on a real person?
No, he was completely brought in.
Okay. It means you might have a problem with that. But
Luckily, he's not here today.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. But I really did. I liked his addition. I thought
great
that he gave her. He also helped with her arc simultaneously, as you're saying, the unspoken with Mickey.
Right.
He's the spoken version of that, where he's dismissed completely at the beginning.
Yeah.
Halfway through, you get the friendship and the bonding, and then third right there,
Mrs. Travers. By the end of it, she's calling him by his first name, and
exactly, and she gets to know him, and she finds out about his family. So,
but still a pill. When she's right, the only American I like,
Yes, and so for me, that was a key addition, and I just thought she did really need it, and it gave us this other perspective. And also, Travers and Disney are obviously huge. We know who they are, but to give us someone new that's surprising, and that you don't really know at all what to expect from.
What I also liked, obviously there's more parallel between Walt and her, but just the way that the names, right? And how that was used, because at first it's like, okay, you're just being combative. Yeah. But eventually the meaning that it takes on of her wanting to use her last name, like call me,
Mrs. Travers,
that it took on so much more weight rather than just, again, a combative woman.
Or being, whatever,
And how specifically they communicated to each other, and when they got along, how it did finally change. And at one point, she would at least call him Walter, and he was to the point that I think he was almost calling her Mrs. Travers. But it never really got through. And how that exchange happened and changed throughout the movie, I thought was done very well and very artistically, all of that stuff.
Yeah, I liked the pears, and I liked all that stuff.
Okay, I thought the pears were a little crazy.
They were a little crazy, but
But she was a crazy woman.
Let me say what I liked about it. The first time she sees pears, she freaks out and she throws them out. And I just like, what a nutcase! What the heck? But it's going to come back in some fashion. And so, what I liked about it is that that's something a kid would do, in a sense that she feels responsible for Dad's death. I didn't get whatever. In some fashion, and so to associate something, whether it's pears or a smell or a song or whatever, that brings you back to that moment. That's what I just liked, that part of it, that she's still so affected by this instant in her life.
That I will agree with, because that I think is very true. And
that's what I mean.
That kids and people really do.
We do it. We do it all the time.
That I completely agree with. Yeah. But visually, their shots of the pears were so bold from them splashing in the pool, like grabbing the pears out of the basket was fine. I thought that but was the actual dunking of the pear into the pool, it's this bright blue screen, it's just like in slow motion encapsulated in water, and then later when you get them sprawled on the floor and it's the feet shot, I was like, wow, this could be
really nice. The pears.
I was like, this is really pears.
Here's what I liked about it. It heightened those moments, again, going back to the point that you're watching a movie, but you're enjoying it for because of how beautiful it actually is. And how many movies would just kind of do it, and then it left for you to figure it out. But this, the whole point of this is to kind of roadmap everything for you as best as it can, and obviously if you can find the golden nuggets within that, all the better for you.
Talk about golden nuggets?
The pears.
Is that your intro?
The pears too much for it, but I gotta say, I thought the shot with the pool was cool.
The theme of the pears, the message of the pears.
It was just overdone a little bit for you.
The visual representation. But I mean,
even the bookending with the clouds and the apparently I didn't see it, but I've been told that there's one of the clouds is shaped of an umbrella. I missed it completely.
I was looking for Mickey. I was waiting for the Mickey
song. That would be way too much.
I was like just waiting. I was like searching for it.
But the weather vane and the winds of change and all that kind of stuff. So
I did not get the umbrella cloud. I have to go back and find it. I found a lot of the feet stuff.
Yeah, a lot of feet stuff. Yeah, there was a lot of feet stuff. Exactly.
Did you catch the whoosh?
Yeah. That was nice. A little moment there.
Yeah, I got a lot of feet mementos. I didn't get a lot of cloud mementos.
And that's the whole, with this you have to be sensitive to the visuals, because that's obviously with Walt Disney, that's the world he created. He created a visual world that he wanted to bring to life,
and to create secrets in, to put that note in there. It's true. It's wonderful. They added it in the theme park. I think that the fact that they add these golden Easter eggs, goose eggs in this park, in every one of his ventures, it keeps true to his character, keeps true to his films, and I really enjoy that.
And it also, in that sense of it, you would think from his perspective, okay, if I show her what I've done, what I've built, and been able to put from pen to life, that she would understand this. Who wouldn't want to go to with Walt?
Disney.
Yeah, not me.
No, you wouldn't.
No, just her line.
Oh, that's true. No, that's right.
I was like, something's wrong with
she's
you.
sickened by it. They say, wow, sickened by it. So.
She's not interested. Not interested at all.
But I thought it was interesting. The moment that never actually happened between the two of them was the moment when he says, I had Mickey and someone who wanted to take it from me.
Right,
so I understand what she's going through.
He's saying this to one of the Shermans.
Yes, and it was never communicated between the two of them.
Right.
And I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Because I thought that was their greatest connection that they ever could have had.
And they
didn't
talk about it. So.
Yeah, they never acknowledged it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really sure how. I was trying to figure out how true that story is.
It's not quite true.
Which part are you talking about?
Well,
somebody wanting.
Yes,
Okay.
Mickey, the story of Mickey and how he came across, and the history that Walt had with creating his cartoons, and how it was told in the film in Save Mr. Banks. It's a little exaggerated to a higher stakes, like now give it to me, money, image. And opposed to you reading about it, it seems like there was a couple other cartoon characters involved, and I was a little.
Okay,
here we go.
Here's. I'm gonna read a quote.
Go ahead.
So if it's slightly inaccurate, not my fault. In the film, Walt Disney tries to assure Mrs. Travers that he knows what it's like to have someone else control the character she's created.
Which he never does because he's obviously not talking to her.
No, he's talking
Point
to Sherman.
wrong of quote.
Referencing a New York producer who wanted to buy Mickey Mouse. Actually, Disney and can you pronounce that name? Erwix.
There we go.
Created Oswald the Rabbit, which Universal Studios bought and then had handed to other writers and artists, and Disney vowed never to work on another project he did not control. He and Erx would later create a mouse character that Walt named Mortimer. Mrs. Disney insisted the name be changed to Mickey.
Yes, so that's well known. So I think it was just a little dramatized in the movie, but then again, he never even said it really to Travers. It's just
well, what we don't know is if somebody ever came to him, and we know about that, but who knows if somebody ever came to him and said, no, I want to buy Mickey.
It's true. Might have to do some more research on this one.
Yeah.
Or if you guys know the answer,
and again,
please let us know.
I don't think it matters. This is where I differ with a lot of people. I don't care. If it works in the movie, it works in the movie. It works in the movie. So I don't really care what happens.
Well, here's okay, so I want to speak to this point because...
and I thought it was a good tie to theme.
Yes.
Like, that's what I think that I got a really big message out of when he was doing that, and it impacted me. Yeah. So I do really like it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Phil.
No worries. You bring up a good point. The Los Angeles Times wrote about the controversy how Walt Disney they place obviously so much nicer to him versus.
So that's the bottom of the thing.
I know, but I'm tying it in.
Okay.
I'm tying it in.
Thank you for keeping us on track.
But I think
No problem.
the point I was making, thank you, Sarah, is that with the whole movie is about image and how people stand in the public's eye or just even to themselves, right? And so I feel they did a great service to her, obviously just in terms of Sherman alone, he obviously has a newfound respect for her because rethinking of those days,
the history now.
Yeah, those were hell for him.
Yeah.
And so in the sense of Walt Disney, obviously you talked about him being a mogul and things like that. There's obviously a very big public image of Walt Disney, and you know what? I wouldn't want that destroyed.
I wouldn't either. And I think that sometimes there's a line in this movie where they talked about it, and I can't remember it. But basically, it's how it. Oh, he says it. It's one of Tom Hanks' lines where he's talking to her, being like, "You wanted me to be this horrible person.
You wanted me to disappoint you like everybody else disappointed."
Yes, and that's the same thing that these people are critiquing. It's like you're being too nice to Disney because you want to bring someone down, but he did all these wonderful things. You don't have to portray someone as a bad guy. I think he was layered. He wasn't just this fantastic person all the time. You did get these different images of him through this movie, and it came across the good things he did. So I was happy with it, and I was happy that Tom Hanks, though, did fight for a little bit of the cigarette mentioning and added in his cough. And
I liken it to this. I think they're trying to sell papers because I think it's a ridiculous argument. He's not the lead in the movie, so he's not going to be as drawn as Emma Thompson, her character. She's the lead in the movie. She's the one that we're going to have to learn more about. He's not, but in terms of screen time, he has about as much as Colin Farrell. So we're not going to know everything about him. We're not going to see every side of him because it's not important for us to know every side of Disney in order for Emma Thompson, P.L. Travers, to have her story.
And I'll also make this argument.
You got out of it, you got multiple things that you got that he was a father, you got that he was a businessman, you got that he was a creative personality. And in the limited screen time, for me to get all of that is plenty enough. I didn't need him to be criticized.
Somebody, if you want to go do a hatchet job on him and make your own movie about
and try to get Disney to approve that one.
Go ahead.
I thought he actually came off, somewhat, for lack of a better term, arrogant, in the sense that, as soon as she said to the whole room, you know, if you think this movie is about saving the kids, by God, you don't know anything.
That's right.
And they're all.
And then it takes him how long?
And I was like, wait. And obviously I understood at that moment because, for me as an audience, okay, the movie's called Saving Mr. Banks. It's all about saving Mr. Banks. Come on,
doesn't he know?
Come on, Disney. It's about saving Mr. Banks. And for him to have taken that long, I was a little bit frustrated with that. But I would argue then that it humanized Walt because he couldn't put that together.
Right, because it was so layered. I mean, it's so deep in her that she's not letting it out to anybody. But that's where I went with it because clearly if he knows, okay, it's not about the kids, and he's always been asking, what she's a conundrum. How do we find? Why are we having so many problems? And you'd think that he would really want to get to the heart of the matter. Of course, he's a busy guy, so maybe that's why he couldn't. But what I liked about it is what it showed the depth of her covering all this up. And I mean, it was hard for us to figure out what the heck the book was about in terms of, because we had to wait to see what the story. And of course, as soon as he figures it out, the movie's over. So of course we got to wait.
And then you want to go back and watch the movie and make sure that you got that message.
But I will say this: had she not said that to him in the middle of the movie, pretty much midpoint, then the ending when he finally gets there and they finally have that scene where he tells his story.
Are you talking about when he travels all the way?
When he travels
to
all the way in London, he follows her. That scene doesn't anywhere near play as good as well as it did, unless we know that he's been trying so long to figure it out.
Yeah.
Because if he learns that way too late, then that scene is not as powerful.
True.
Yeah, because it was all about the last name.
Yeah.
And again, it just that all clicked.
Yeah. And I think that scene, I mean, that's great. That's a wonderful Tom. That's his best scene in the movie, for me. I'm sure you'll have other scenes that you want to talk about. We'll get to those. But anyway, I just think the argument that it painted Disney in a too good of a light, and it's like, I think that's stupid. I think it's a dumb argument, and I don't. First of all, I don't know the truth of Disney anyway, so I didn't think he would paint it in a good light. I don't think he would paint it in a bad light. It just seemed like this is Disney for this story, such that P.L. Travers goes along and.
I mean, you could look at him a number of ways. I mean, just the fact that you could look at him as a smart man for having the autographed cards already, or you could be like, wow, there's no effort on your part to make it specific.
Exactly. I don't want to.
Yeah, it's just about how you interpret it. What I found interesting was in terms of, I want to get into a little bit more into the cast.
Okay.
And so Tom, going back, he revisited kind of the old offices and things like that, and he had an office there, and he found it funny that it's now just a storage room.
So he's like, oh, wait, Disney's office is just a storage room?
No, his office.
Oh,
Tom's actual office is just a storage room.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's,
and then another great moment kind of behind the scenes was he was dressed up as Disney, and he's walking around, and he walked into, that office, and they looked at him, and he was like, what are you guys doing? We're figuring out DVD sales. It's like, all right, carry on. So I found that interesting.
Nice.
Just kind of him,
walking
getting into the character of Walt.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's fun. So. That's great. Way to go, Tom.
He had a good year. I mean, this and Captain Phillips. I think that.
It's one of my favorite movies.
There you go.
Yeah,
well, maybe Tom Hanks fan through there, right?
Overall, yeah.
Overall.
I mean, what's the one with him and Julia Roberts that wasn't so good?
Oh, I don't remember the name of it.
Yeah, see, check that one out because it wasn't so good.
When he got fired and had to go back to school, and she was his teacher.
I don't know what it is.
I remember which one you're talking about. It was a more recent movie.
Yeah,
neither here nor there.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He directed that one too. Anyway.
Oh.
Let's not get into that. Let's keep talking. Emma Thompson was great. She's nominated for things.
For me, this is Emma's movie all the way. I mean, I thought Tom did a great job. Loved him in that, especially that scene. Again, just like in the what was the movie with the Colonel? Captain Phillip. Captain, thank you. Colonel, Captain, whatever it is. That last scene, I thought he was great in that last scene in that movie. I was like, I would sit through the movie just to see that last scene and the way he performed in that because I thought it was amazing. Just the way he was in that scene with her. I'm sorry, with Emma Thompson in this last scene when he follows her to London, I'm going right there. Same in Castaway when he's talking about what it was like being on that island to his friend after he's been saved. I will watch that scene over and over and over again. For me, he just, when he finds that, he's a great actor. For me.
Completely. I agree.
I love Emma in these roles. I mean, you guys talked about Nanny McPhee.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's Stranger Than Fiction.
Yeah.
That movie's just so much fun.
Absolutely.
You know, and she just, again, in there, kind of like a bitchy woman.
I even liked her in the one with Jeff Goldblum, and I can't remember the name of it.
I think this is probably, though, my favorite movie that I've ever seen her in.
She's terrific.
Portray a writer or just in general?
What do you mean?
She's great in this.
I thought she's absolutely fantastic as an actor in this. Like,
no, I thought so too, but I'm making a joke that she's played so many writers.
That's true. She has. And it was originally they wanted Meryl, and they couldn't get Meryl, and then came. And I really go look at this, and I go, I mean, I'm sure Meryl would have done a fine job, but it's indelible.
Fantastic.
How do you?
To me, this is the standout movie of her career for me. Like, I will watch this over and over again. I've seen Nanny McPhee. We were talking about the parallels, the fact that was one of the reasons she could relate to this role is because she wrote that and it does have a very similar storyline to Mary Poppins. Yeah. But I just thought that she really embodied this character, and she didn't. There are parts of it that are so funny because of how bunchy she doesn't play it for laughs. She just plays it straight.
But it's hysterical because she does.
Exactly, and she's so committed to it.
And she didn't shy away at all from being unlikable, which is a lot of actors and actors.
And especially when you're playing with Tom Hanks.
And you're doing the lead.
And he's playing Disney.
Affable,
he's going to be likable. And just to go be very honest
and
with
even with all that, she's still able to make you care about her and want for her, and because I really want her to heal.
Oh, that's so
Don't
nice.
you? Didn't you?
I really liked her how she was, so I don't know.
No, she's not. I don't think she's gonna lose that part of it. I don't think that at all.
Want her to get that.
Yeah, she's still gonna be irascible and cantankerous and all that other stuff. But I just want her to heal the wound.
I agree.
Because I like that she's so spunky like that. I mean, I don't ever want her to change that part of it.
I think one of the greatest assets was having Dick Sherman on set.
Yeah,
because every time they did, she did a scene, she would go up to him and, "Excuse me, darling, I have to now be a bitch."
Yes, yeah.
And then off she went and played,
she has to be a bitch. Yeah,
yeah. So I thought, and again, so I thought that was nice because if she was Sherman was able to kind of understand, those moments in his life. And kind of forgive them based on that performance because he understood. And so I think, that connection, really worked well in creating this character on screen.
And I don't know, obviously I've never met Emma Thompson, but whenever I see her on the talk shows or whatever, interviews and stuff, she's incredibly affable and likable and wonderful and sweet and all that other stuff. And I just like that I'm sure it was a thrill for her to play somebody that didn't care and just said horrible things and got to be a bitch for however many days. So, but I think that was a good stretch for her because I often don't see her in a role where she's playing somebody like this. She's so prim and proper, and Emma Thompson to me she's off the cuff. She's very improvisational. She's very crazy, and she's not at all wrapped that tightly at all.
I would totally agree with that, Strain. Definitely break from character, break from who she is.
I would say Colin. Colin kind of I'm trying to think of his more recent works. I mean, Fright Night for me is what comes to mind.
Who are we talking about?
Colin Farrell.
Oh, okay.
Who played Drunk Dad.
Got it. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
And so,
Mr. Banks.
Yes, thank you.
So for me with him, I knew he was going to be, based off of the posters, that he was going to be in this movie, and I didn't know what to think of that. I didn't know what to think of it, but
no, but I didn't even know. I was like, what the hell is Colin doing in here? Yeah,
he did a good job.
He did a great job. I thought he was terrific. I didn't think there was a bad role in this. I didn't.
No one stood out to me as like not belonging. All of them really fit together as a cast.
He did joke about it. He was like, wait, I'm playing Emma Thompson's father?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. How'd that happen?
But he said, I want to bring a humanity to the character and things like that. And it's quite unfortunate that this character can't see.
He teared up when he watched the whole film. Did you hear about this?
I did hear that. He cried.
He cried a little bit. Well, it was like a tear. But he admitted to it, and he admitted that he felt so moved, but that he was embarrassed because it was his own film, and you're not supposed to cry.
At your own film.
But here's the thing, one of the toughest things for him was he had to bottle up the whole fact that his demise was his own.
Yeah.
And he could never admit that as his character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that was one of the toughest things. And so, you know, to be able to portray that, you know, basically someone who doesn't want to look in the mirror and admit their own faults.
Doesn't want to deal with reality. I mean,
Yeah.
he wants to live in the fantasy world.
You know, and I think, again, you know, you spoke that you didn't even know that he was in there.
I didn't.
I think he forgot as he's watching. He's like,
he
oh, who's
probably-
that guy?
Exactly.
That guy's
That was
good.
Yeah, and he did a great job. Yeah, and I thought Ruth Wilson, who played his wife and Ginty's mother, I thought she was terrific for the, you know, because she wasn't on screen time. But she's.
But he was made very lovable early
Yeah,
on.
oh,
you
yeah.
didn't, you know what I
You
mean?
just think he's the best dad in the world. Look at how he treats his daughter. Oh my God.
You know, we're gonna
yeah.
walk together.
Yeah.
We're all set, and just so creative and imaginative. And then it just all.
And
And,
then you
you're like,
realize,
who is the?
oh.
You know, with Ruth, I was like, who is this woman? Why is she so
Yeah.
bitter? You know, I understand he lives a slightly different.
Irresponsible.
Yeah.
life.
No, not well.
Yeah,
I guess
irresponsible.
Yes, irresponsible.
Early on, you
would
could say-
be what that is.
okay, irresponsible early on because you know he had a different outlook on life. But then obviously when the drugs came in, that was a whole different story.
Well, I mean, he got fired a couple times. I mean, he was.
He didn't show up to
irresponsible.
work because he wanted to
He's
play
drinking,
a game.
He's not really taking care of his family. I mean,
Irresponsible.
you know, they.
But there's a
the flights
difference.
of fancy
Obviously there's a huge difference between a drunk
Yeah.
and versus someone that's just kind of with a different philosophy. And,
No, the philosophy is fine, but he took the philosophy to the degree that he couldn't deal with reality. That's why he was running away from it. He just wanted to deal on the flights of fancy. He didn't want to have to deal. I mean, that's why he drank so much.
And it's fun because it's a different perspective on people who do are drugs or addicts or
Yeah.
whatever, because we do normally see the angry, evil, bad, and that's not always true.
No.
They're very happy.
He was a
drunks.
lovable
just-
drunk.
Exactly, and I liked that they added that, and that you could see
And
why
it still
Charles was
wreaks
so in
havoc
love
on
with
your
him,
kid.
and it still can destroy families and
exactly.
the mother's relationship. It was. I loved it.
What I was pointing to in terms of Ruth Wilson is that, you know, when she has that moment where she just can't take it anymore and she says goodbye to her daughter, I was just going, oh my God, I felt so bad for not only the kid but for her. And she was just out of her own body and just walking in.
that's when it was not a PG-13.
That's
movie.
true.
That was
But the way they did that scene when her daughter she's in the water or whatever, and looks like and she yanks on her mother's thing. She turns around, she realizes what she's doing and what she could be possibly putting this child through, and then you could see it all. I mean, it was great.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree. But you guys want to talk about the movie Mary Poppins? Not the movie, but the
What are you
the
talking
aunt.
about?
The aunt.
Oh, okay, absolutely, yeah. Rachel Griffiths.
Oh.
Rachel
Yeah,
Griffiths.
I was gonna try to
You
figure
mean
out how to
the-
explain
The
it.
real Mary Poppins.
Yes.
The real person that Mary Poppins was based on. Although the argument that Disney makes, Tom Hanks makes in the movie is that it's her. It's Travers. It's
Yes.
her creation. Meaning
Because in real life she
Mary
wasn't.
Poppins.
You know, because that's what
Because she wasn't. She couldn't fix everything, but Mary
Yeah.
Poppins can, and that's the device that
Yes.
P.L. Travers creates in
It's-
order to help her through this.
It's the dream scenario of what she
course.
wished would happen and how things were
Yes,
supposed
exactly.
to turn
That's
out.
right. Yeah, because you couldn't fix everything.
because
She
But I
like-
loved when she came. I was like, "Oh my God, Rachel!" They got her to do it. She got the hair all out, and
And she
everything.
gives you those little tidbits of lines,
Yeah.
especially her delivery of the
Yes,
codfish
exactly.
line was
We are
fantastic.
not the codfish. Yeah. And then she's got the iconic bag that she's pulling all kinds of crap out of.
I thought what worked really nice, again going back to the script, was that he never wanted her to come. Remember, it was always a point of contention.
Oh
with
yeah,
the
he
wife,
didn't want the. I'm sorry, you're talking about her father. So Mr.
Yeah.
Travers,
with the wife. It was like
he
no,
never wanted
no.
the aunt to come. Yeah.
You know, and I found it was funny that
Yeah.
she ultimately became Mary Poppins because she's supposed to, with him,
Yeah.
don't come.
Absolutely, because she
So-
goes with
I found that quite fun.
That was good.
Are we going to talk about golden eggs now?
Since we're kind of talking about it, in terms of they shot this in Australia,
Yeah.
all right?
All right, we're going to locations. Move on. Go ahead.
Sure, locations.
Yeah.
No,
No, they shot in L.A.
but this part's they were shot in England.
I heard it was okay. Go ahead. But maybe
No, there's
you
three
may be right.
locations.
Gotcha.
There's
I'm
three
gonna
locations.
go
There's
with
the
you on
United
this.
States,
Gotcha.
which obviously, it's not like they made Disney in over in Australia. They went
No.
to the real place,
Mhm.
so they shut down for that down for a few days. But in terms of Australia, they wanted to make sure that it was shot completely anamorphic and really kind of wide
Right.
to show the
difference.
natural beauty and things
Yeah.
like that.
It's
So I
very
found that interesting.
ethereal.
You thought it was in the United States, really?
Yeah, I read and I went, what? I
Read
didn't
where?
believe it. I can't remember where I read it. We were, I'm telling
L.A.
you,
Times that's criticizing
Exactly.
the movie.
that they shot in L.A. I went, wow, okay, I guess I could have passed for it, because they've done other things. So,
No.
Well, the opening image, when you saw the clouds and saw the palm trees, I didn't guess. And when I saw the palm trees, I said, oh, because of Disney, I thought we're in LA for sure, right? And then they say, no, we're in Australia. And I went, yeah, okay.
I agree with that. I totally thought we were gonna open in like Disneyland, California,
exactly,
Hollywood, and I was like, oh, we're somewhere else.
Oh, yeah.
I'll take it though.
So yeah, that's all.
Fair enough.
There you go, locations.
What else did you? Okay,
they did shut down Disneyland for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was November 6th.
Well, portions. They did portions at a time.
The Magic Castle was a big center, and I wonder if people were mad or happy about that.
That they had shut down portions of the park. Yeah, I don't know.
But they're shooting in Disney films, so
exactly.
you're happy because that's happening, right?
But they got to see Walt walk around, right?
It was like, who's that? Oh, Walt. That's cool.
There you go.
Well, we were still talking about actors. We didn't really. Is there anything else we wanted to say in terms of? I thought the little girl that played Ginty was wonderful.
She did really good. I guess we could talk about the writer, the screenplay author.
Okay.
You know, and
I was finishing up on actors. Are we done?
No,
on
I'm
actors?
talking about the actors.
Oh, you're talking about. Okay, great.
The actor. You know.
Who are you talking about?
Okay, it's tough when you're talking about a movie that's about a movie.
He's talking about Bradley Whitford.
I'm talking, and
he played
BJ
the
Novak.
co-writer.
Brothers.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, you're talking about the
everyone.
Okay,
the
those
three of
writers.
them.
Yes.
Okay,
Three
gotcha.
of them.
Yeah.
So the lyricist and the composers and the
screenplay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They was great. I love the guys in the room. They were so put upon. I like when Brad
See,
Whitford
what's his
is drawing
name really
pictures.
just infuriated me. I
Which
love
one?
the drawings because those came also from
come from reality.
reality, and he had sketches of her, and
Yeah.
so that was really pulled from. And the fact that what's his name had the cane with the shot in his leg.
Right. I thought that was going to get explained at some point, but I didn't.
No, it did.
Oh.
Remember, because of World War II.
No, it didn't get explained
didn't get
what
explained in
happened.
the
It
movie.
just told him it was shot.
He just
The
says it was
reality
shot.
is that it happened in war.
Yeah, I just
and
assumed
it's
because
ironic
of it. Yeah.
because she's like, oh, he deserved to get shot, or something, because she thinks
she
she's
said
no
that.
one.
No, she said it figures. Or something
Or
like
something
that. Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
she
knew
didn't
that,
put it
but
together.
you guys. Oh, okay.
No, I'm saying I thought in the movie at some point that would come back. Like they'd have she and he would have a conversation. Then she would learn that he got shot in the war. And
Nope.
it never happened.
Fair enough.
That's all.
Nope.
But that did happen in real life. So.
Yes, of course. So.
There you go. I
But you were
would say
saying
that
who
I
was
really
saying
did
that
like.
somebody you didn't like was one of the.
I actually really. What is his name in this? I can't remember. The guy who was playing the writer.
Don DeGrady. Excuse me, DeGrady, whatever. it is.
He was driving me crazy.
Is it because he's in Billy Madison as the evil jerk?
No, but why is he driving you crazy?
Okay, like when they started doing Let's Fly a Kite, and he was on his knees, and they brought the assistant in, and he's like, "Daddy," or something. I was literally like, I would have hated thinking about this movie too if you were reading it like that.
Well, but that was his job. He was supposed to. I mean, he wasn't supposed to, but because it was horrible, that made it more difficult for
I'm gonna get it.
PL.
It just really put me on her side, where I would just be like, no, we're not making this film.
So he
with
was
its
so good at
dancing
making it
penguins,
bad.
and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh no! So
Yeah. Well, I thought his accent was just as good as Dick Van Dyke's. I have to say.
Oh, can we talk about Dick Van Dyke for a moment?
Sure, go right ahead. Not in this movie, but go ahead. Well, briefly in a cameo at the end.
he's mentioned a lot.
Well, he's
his
in the
name is
he
referred
dances
to
at the end.
Well, obviously she didn't want him at all.
No.
She also supposedly didn't really actually want Julie Andrews either. They just couldn't put in that she didn't like either people in the movie, so they focused mostly on.
So.
Yes, she focused mostly on.
Here's a fun nugget. Travers never did approve casting of Dick Van Dyke as Bert in pre-production of Mary Poppins. Although he claimed that it was the best film he was in, Van Dyke felt he was miscast to play Bert and said either Jim Dale or Ron Moody should have been cast as Bert.
Jim Dale would have been great.
Travers suggested actors like Richard Burton, Alec Guinness, Richard Harris, Rex Harrison,
Not
Ron
a casting
Moody,
director.
Lorison Oliver, Peter O'Toole, and Peter Sellers for the role, in keeping with the British nature of her books. Even Travers and Walt Disney both favored Stanley Holloway for Bert, but Holloway had to turn down the role due to his obligation on reprising his stage role of Doolittle for the film version of Leonard and Lowe's My Fair Lady, which later became Mary Poppins' chief competitor in 1964.
Interesting.
So he made a good film choice, at least for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Though. And
yeah, I'd like, a lot of people give him grief, but he knew that he was miscast, but he said, he took the role, obviously, for many reasons, but he knew his accent was horrible. It's like, well, so what? What are you
he's
gonna
like,
do?
I got it in 9 minutes,
That's
so
it.
here
I'm
you
gonna
go.
do my best. There you go.
But I thought it was very funny because it was like I understood kind of why she was against Dick Van Dyke
Sure.
because of where she's
Well, he's
coming
an
from.
American TV
But
actor.
I think it's funny editing wise for the movie they also left out that she was unhappy with Julie Andrews. And I
Yeah.
think that's more because people are such advocates of Julie Andrews
Sure.
that the moment you're like, no, Julie Andrews, people are like, oh, we can't respect your opinion anymore.
I don't think she was in favor of anything.
No.
So.
I'm agreeing with her on the penguins, though. I
You-
said that
yeah,
earlier.
you
I'm
didn't
not
like
a
the
fan of the
penguins.
animated penguins.
Are you okay with the merry-go-round horse and stuff?
Not my favorite part.
Not your
my
favorite.
favorite
So
part.
the animated part of Mary Poppins, not a fan.
I mean, I love the movie, but that's my least favorite part of the movie is
got
the
it. All right.
animation
It does seem odd
craziness.
this comes in.
It's weird. Those horses are weird.
Wow.
Duly noted. Okay. They're
Thank
weird.
you, Sarah.
All right. Well, let's see. I don't. We've talked about just about all the actors, but I thought the guys, B.J. Novak and Schwartzman, did a great job as the Sherman brothers. It was fun to see them. I love their story. I wish they'd do a story on those guys. They turned out such great musicals.
They were at, the whole cast was kind of asked this. Did you guys watch the movie before you shot? And Colin, I guess, had invited everyone to go to see the movie at his place, and they spent 3 hours talking. That eventually he felt like, oh, I guess we should watch the movie. So he put it on, and there was about 20 of them. He says, I don't know exactly who, but I know Tom and Emma,
Right.
and those guys were definitely there. And that he says that really brought him close as a cast.
Okay, nice. Way to go, Colin. And he wasn't even in the movie with them.
He wasn't.
Never did a scene with them.
Never.
So, but it brought them together. So that's
But
nice.
they could all go to the premiere and be friends.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. Is the end
That's
premieres,
right.
you want everyone to be happy and be friends.
So you can promote the movie better, or
I don't know.
okay.
Or you can
Well, look, for most of this movie, the accolades have gone to the writing for Kelly and Sue, and especially the acting for Tom and Emma. And very little said about the direction, which I find interesting. It's like how it's, most people think this is a good movie, but they aren't talking about the director, and I find that
That's
kind of
very
strange.
true. I mean, I can't really blame them because I haven't been either.
Yeah.
So because really when I do talk about this, I talk about the story, the narrative, and
Yeah.
particularly Emma Thompson.
Right.
I really haven't paid too much attention to the director, which is
Well,
bad
okay.
on my part. Sorry.
He hasn't directed John Lee Hancock. Hasn't
Yeah.
directed many movies.
Well, he did Blindside.
He did
Huge.
Blindside and The Alamo. But
And The
even-
Rookie.
Snow White and the Huntsman, A Perfect World. I mean, so. And I would just guess that a guy that did Blindside, which won Academy Award for Sandra,
but here's
and
the
it
thing.
got a lot of attention. So
It did, but
He's nominated as well.
it's interesting because there's obviously movies that you look at, like American Hustle with David O. Russell,
Right.
or Christopher Nolan, or
Right.
you associate the director with the movie.
Right.
Blindside, had you told me, I wouldn't have been like, oh, John Lee Hancock.
Right.
You're more like Sandra Bullock, or
Yeah.
the story's great, or whatever.
Yeah, but
You know
I
what I
mean,
mean?
I think.
I think
But
I don't know if
that's
it's a
an argument
choice.
for marketing. He just doesn't market himself. Or
That's what I'm saying. I think he
But I
just
don't think
he
that
just
makes
likes he just
he's low key about it. Is that
he's
what you're
low
saying?
key, and he wants to he just even in the interviews he doesn't speak much, but he joked about it like how did you come across this movie? He was like, well, I wanted to make another one, and given that I want to tell
Yeah.
these certain types of stories, sometimes it takes about 10, 12 years
Yeah.
for them to
Something
come to
like-
fruition,
right.
and so I took on this one.
Yeah.
There you go, and he does a good job though. So
And again, I think I commend
quality
him.
over quantity.
I commend him for making it less about him.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a style there. Is it the signature John Lee Hancock style? I would say no, because it's look at Blindside versus Rookie versus this.
Yeah.
Whole set of different skills.
Yeah, but it just
Yeah,
shows
but they
his,
do draw from real stories and real people, and I think he does a good job of being able to read people well and illustrate them in a proper light that balances, the good sides and bad sides of people, and not creating them into anything that's perfect, but people who are kind of have raw edges. So I think that that's where his skill lies.
I think that at this point we ought to give him his due. I think that people should be talking about not just the actors and the writing in this one, because it's a collaborative effort. But obviously the he's running the show, so he's obviously doing something right. I mean,
I 100% agree,
Shut
but
up.
I think
But I mean, how can you not? I mean, that's like
It's true. It's very
how
true.
can you not be talking about him in this?
here's the thing.
Everybody
Sometimes
thinks
you
it's that
have
good
to
of a
be
movie.
loud,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't think he's loud. You know,
No, he's not. But what I'm saying is not him. I'm just saying. Well, I'm just surprised that everybody out there isn't also talking about his and his ability to put this movie together.
I would agree.
I don't know how to fix this problem. Which
No,
is,
we don't
I
have
think
to
why
fix
we're
it.
shocked.
We gotta save Mr. Hancock.
All right. Well, I don't know what else. Well, because I thought, in terms of direction, I thought it was done very well. The balance was great.
Sure.
And you know, just
Put a good team together.
Just the way it was acted, and again, going back to the visuals and things like that. And you know, we spoke to the Reds and things like that. You know, making the conscious choice of when to place in Reds and how it all tied together. By the way, the when the two worlds collide with that song, just the sheer filmmaking.
That was obviously the moment.
That was a good
for
thing
Phil.
for Phil. Yeah.
Phil loves
really
the
kicked it into gear
merry-go-round.
there,
That
man.
was like
because it was perfection on
goal.
all levels: writing, acting, music, cinematography, editing. You know what? There's not one thing wrong with it.
Yeah.
there you go. You loved it.
I did love it.
Do you also like merry-go-rounds?
But here's the thing. But you just
No,
made that
this
point.
is the merry-go-round.
But
I know. I'm saying.
and
do
don't
you?
and don't you give that credit to the director? He's the one that put that all together.
I do.
You got to.
But again, you know, it's funny seeing him because he just he was complimented
solo
about
keep it.
that and he
There
just
you go.
dismissed it.
Really?
Yeah, he just pretty much okay. And what was your question?
Well, okay, maybe that's why people don't talk about him more.
I don't
To your
know.
point. So, all right, what do we got? Some golden nuggets, Phil. Let's get into those. What do you want to talk about?
Oh, golden nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious
Yeah.
moment of you know in the real movie, Mr. Banks says, "What? I always know what to say," and obviously they tied that. What I love is again they layered all these different things, but they never made it a point to take away from the movie.
Right.
And you know we could probably spend forever talking about the various ones, but I thought that one was fun. You know, obviously saving Mr. Banks, right? It's about saving Mr. Banks. So in the movie, what I liked about it, you know, Bert says to the kids, like, who looks after your father?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's how that came into existence. I thought that was nice.
Mm-hmm.
Spoonful of Sugar, I believe you talked about, right?
Mhm.
What about you guys? What are some golden nuggets that they put in?
Well, those are the ones that I really enjoyed. Those ones that I remember. I'm sure there were a ton of them. And as I was watching the movie, I was going, that's where I get it. So I was doing a lot of that, but I can't recall them at the moment. I didn't write them down.
I would say the ones I was most drawn to are actually the ones related to Travers and just her actions, and I felt very like drawn to her movements and how she really influenced Mary Poppins. Kind of, you could tie in those parallels I mentioned earlier, like just her tapping her feet.
Yeah, the way she
I
does it,
loved that.
Yeah, that was terrific.
Also, how they did tie in throughout the piece the talking umbrella head,
Right,
and how it also transferred to actually was in the Australian in her actual hand, and the carpet bag through different people throughout the film. Those are the ones that are hitting my head right now.
Obviously, the mustache was a point of contention. I don't think that's necessarily a nugget, as more of a plot device at that point. So I thought that was nice, and like, of course he's gonna have a mustache. You know, Walt specifically wanted that.
There was the one I read about where there's the a map of Florida
Oh,
in
yes.
Walt Disney's office, which is where he was going to build Disney World. But he hadn't built it yet. So that was one that was in there.
He got off the phone with GE.
Right.
You know, one quick moment, obviously, to what that led to. Let's see. In terms of how London looks specifically, obviously that was a big point of contention. But that's not how their house looks. It looks like this. I thought that was fun, and again, it was just great to see the making of this process. This isn't a golden nugget particularly, but in terms of in the actual movie, but it's a golden nugget about the movie. So they recorded all the songs, right? And they got to use a lot of the old pianos and things like that. And there was so everyone had left, and they had about as John Lee says, about 20 minutes, right, extra. And so, he was like, "Can we record Chim Chimney?"
Chim Marie?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not great with the song titles, so forgive me on that.
That
I saw Mary Poppins. I liked Mary Poppins. I am not the fanatic that other people are with songs.
Okay.
So they had Walt Disney's old kind of piano, right? It was just used for things
Rehearsals
like
and
this,
stuff.
rehearsal
Yeah.
piano, right? And then I guess
It's an
there's-
upright.
I didn't know that there was a difference.
Yeah, there's a difference.
But apparently there's a difference. And so they recorded it, on that piano. And later on, he didn't know that he would end up using it for the movie and things like that. And they were like, should we get this recorded? And everyone was like, no, don't, because, this whole movie is about the creative process. It's okay that it's not a fine-tuned piano or whatever you want to call it. What do you call it? Fancy piano?
A concert piano.
There you go.
Concert piano.
I learned that. I didn't know that there was a difference in pianos. But I thought that was pretty cool.
That was cool.
To include that in that raw form.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I'm glad you said that. I didn't know that.
I
All that
did not
research
either.
paying off, Phil. Way to go.
Hopefully.
You learned something about pianos and the film.
Well, we just talked about music. Let's go deeper into that because a lot of this, obviously, they're using the songs that are made by the Sherman Boys for Mary Poppins. But
I do have Steven. Let me know when you're ready to cue it up. It's a small little thing that I do want to play for us.
Okay.
What is it?
It's a video about the music, and it's
Okay,
with
great.
with I believe Dick Sherman speaking about it.
Are we ready?
On your cue, Steven. Again, I thought rather than I wanted to discuss it after we heard
Mr.
this.
Banks
Okay, here
is
we go.
quite a remarkable film. Well, Bob and I got the great opportunity to work for Disney, and what finally happened was we'd written about 7 or 8 songs that he had put in his films and in television shows, and he handed us a book, and the book was Mary Poppins by Pamela Travers. And he said, read this and tell me what you think.
One of the most endearing things about the film, and it gets you from the very beginning.
This
the
is Randy
music. That's
Thornton
what sort of
talking.
pulls you in. And this is true with just about all Disney films, particularly in the early days. The songs were there to help tell the story, to move it forward. And I was in charge of the master tapes and everything, and I'd come across the Mary Poppins pre-demo. And these are all the original recordings. Now, when Poppins was in production, it was on again, off again, on again, off again. And Bob and Dick decided to take the songs they had written to that point and record them and put them down on tape. And that's what this reel is. For the Saving Mr. Banks Deluxe Edition soundtrack, we've included 4 of these original demos in their entirety. And Chim Chim Cheree came along during one of the story meetings, I think before Travers even came out here. They were talking with Don DeGraudy about, their storyline and everything, and Don was just sort of sketching.
And it was a sketch of a chimney sweep, and we asked about it, what's he all about? And he said, well, Mary Poppins shakes hands with him, and the children say he's so filthy. And Mary Poppins says, don't you realize it's luck when you shake with a sweep? And that was kind of a cue for us. And so basically we were inspired by that song, that drawing, and we wrote the song that was lucky for us, Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheree. A sweep is as lucky can be. Chim chimney, chim chimney, chim chim cheroo. Good luck will rub off when I blow hands with you. Or blow me a kiss, and that's lucky too.
When Mary takes Jane and Michael on their excursion into the park, the Shermans felt that they needed to bring something back with them, some sort of talisman, and they really didn't have quite an idea of what to do until they remembered a crazy long word from their childhood. So they created supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
We started with obnoxious, super colossal, this very ordinary, and then we sort of piddled around with, played around with it, and we didn't want to have obnoxious, but we had atrocious because it sounded more British. And so we'd have atrocious, and then you'd be smart, you'd be precocious, and so there we had approaches, docious at the end, and so we had the bottom of the song, and we didn't have the top. And so we started with super colossal and dropped the colossal. Of course, that's, everybody would say super colossal. So we said super, then just pure double tongue, califragilisticexpialidocious. It took us 2 weeks to come up with it, and it goes something like this. Diddle diddle I, diddle because I was afraid to speak when I was just a lad. Me father gave me nose a tweak and told me I was bad. But then one day I learned a word that saved me aching nose. The biggest word you ever heard, and this is how it goes. It's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
The pivotal point in the film.
There's just a little bit more, but I figured it'd give us a chance to
Talk
break.
music.
When Mary sings birds. And the whole thing from the beginning was, Mary isn't there to save the children. She's really there to save Mr. Banks. Walt obviously knew it was a keystone moment.
Working with Walt Disney was a very special time because he was so cooperative and so listenable. I mean, he would listen and he would plus things that we'd come up with. He realized that we were trying to say a lot more with a very few words than could possibly be said. And that was that it doesn't take much to give love, but you have to give it freely, and it doesn't cost a nickel, it costs tuppence. Once he saw that, he said, that's the key to the whole picture. And it was his favorite song, and it became my favorite song too. Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag. Feed the birds, that's what she cries, while overhead her birds fill the skies. All around the cathedral, the saints and apostles look down as she sells her wares. Although you can't see it, you know they are smiling each time someone shows that he cares. Yeah, I always loved that song. That was very special to me. Years after Poppins was made.
All right, we can stop there, Stephen. Thank you.
But,
yeah, nice little breather for us. And I wanted to, it's great to kind of get it from their perspective and hear it from them. Let's see, what was I going to say?
Talking about music.
Talking about music.
Or do you want to talk about the original score, like how they interpreted
both
in this?
Yeah, I think you have to talk about both.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, in a way, this movie's lucky. It already has iconic great songs to draw from. Mm-hmm. And they do play a big part in this film. Yeah. Time-wise, they really did hit on a lot of the songs and live out a lot of them fully. I want to say, like, Let's Fly Kites, the entirety of that song is presented. But I did like that you got the broken down version, the rehearsal version. Yeah. It's not to the quality we're used to. It's not these professional singers. It is sung by, two gentlemen.
It's in a rehearsal hall. Yes. Yeah, it's not polished. It's not
and they're
overly
so
produced.
Great, and they're so fun. And so in that way, they're lucky. But then also how the composer broke it down, specifically in the beginning and the end of this film, and how you kind of got the almost twisted version of, that's how it read to me, of like the east winds and the east. It's this kind dark and scary.
It's a little foreboding.
But I really liked it, and I thought it was very beautiful. And so I was a big fan of how they intertwined the two and how I got a variety, but it paid a good homage to the original. What did you guys think?
I loved the original score, which was done by what's his name? John, if you have it, jump in. But he did
Thomas Newman.
Yes,
who did that? Yeah.
He's done all these obviously animated movies for Pixar, right? Finding Nemo and things like that. And so I found that interesting.
This is his first live action, correct?
Yes.
Live action Disney.
So I found that interesting because there is a difference to kind of doing live action versus animation. Obviously, animation tends to, for lack of a better term, fun. You can have fun with it. It can be more whimsical, and childlike. Whereas here, I mean, we talked about it. It's not quite a children's movie. Mm-mm. So you have to play that. Especially, I forget what music was playing when the suicide attempt was happening.
Yeah, I don't remember.
But you have to play that really smart.
Yeah, Chim Chimney wouldn't go as well there.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
You'd have to make it really dark and twisted to work on that one.
So.
Yeah.
But I felt like the music blended well from, although we got, the two dual stories. I didn't feel like either. I thought more visually opposing than sound opposing between the two. I'd have to re-listen to just the score. I think that mostly what I was taking around from sound was so much tied to the Mary Poppins, just because hearing it in this different manner was so interesting to me that was drawing my attention more than just like the composing in the background throughout the film. But in the times I did notice it, which was a lot of like the landscape shots or shots of the sky or whatnot, I did feel very carried away with it. And from the very beginning, I did feel that this was a Disney movie just through the sound and through the music, and that's always such an important part, even through the creepy. But like when you opened up on the clouds, it was very dreamlike to me. It was very transporting to the world,
and it harkened to Disney for you.
The beginning, the beginning opening, I definitely felt like I was going into a Disney film.
Interesting. I don't really have a memory of that. I mean, I know I wasn't transported to thinking that, but for me, I thought they used the existing music of Mary Poppins so well. I thought, and then the stuff that Thomas provided. For me, I liked that he was able to bend and twist and tweak and use the themes or whatever it is. And I don't speak music very well, if you pardon me. It's
the
not
melody
language.
line.
I don't know music.
You thought
very
the
well.
volume was correct.
Exactly, that's true. But I just like that he was able to use them, but alter them slightly, like you said, so they had different. They resonated differently than the songs that I was used to, and for the stuff that was all new. I thought it really served its purpose well. It never felt. I just think it supported what was going on more than anything. It just felt that it was really congruous that way.
The only thing that I could have wanted was I know that they had a lot more songs written for the original score that never made it to the film.
Oh, is that right?
I think so, yeah. And I really wanted kind of a tidbit of something else they had experimented with, because we got all songs that did make it through, even despite if she liked them or not. Like, I really wanted something they didn't like
didn't make it?
to
see.
see.
That would have been interesting. Yeah.
Just because I wanted to see more of that side, because this was the making of, and that's tidbits that people always enjoy. So that was something I was waiting for that didn't happen. But that's okay. I'll forget them.
Fair enough. For me, what I liked again it's just the perfect marriage of all these different things. So it starts with the acting, then goes into the visual, and then because I'm making the visual ties to Mary Poppins and what's going on screen, and then the music is one of the last levels to hit for me, and so the combination of all worked really well. And as you said, I think everyone on this project just really understood it. They understood what they
seemed
were
like
going.
they were all making the same movie. There are a lot of times when you're watching a movie and you're going, I don't think the editor's on the same page with the production designer or something. You know what I mean? You can see there seems to be some dissonance.
Yeah,
they seem to be on the same. Yeah, they seem to be all on the same page on this one, which was great.
Yeah, it flowed.
And it's interesting, again, they get asked so many times, did you see Mary Poppins beforehand? Or like, well, what weight did Mary Poppins have? And it would seem like that would be your Bible. And that, like when, for example, when Lord of the Rings is spoken about and Peter Jackson, he always has a book and this and that. And, they were just, it's almost like a side note. They took the spirit of Mary Poppins and what it was, but they didn't, it's not like everyone had a DVD copy playing everywhere throughout the set or wherever they were just to make sure, did we get that right?
Yeah, they were referential, but they weren't remaking anything. This was not a sequel or anything like that, or a prequel, or whatever. You could see there, in other filmmakers' hands, you could see where they would try to do that, and it would suffer just from that, rather than, they knew each other's skill sets, and they were just like, okay, let's do it. We know what we want to make. So I thought that resonated well. By the way, the video we watched, it's on YouTube under the channel Disney. There's a lot of great videos like this. They don't have a lot of views, ironically, so check them out because they are little golden nuggets. Just watching Sherman again. That's Dick Sherman, right?
Yes.
Okay. That guy's great.
Yeah.
He's interminably optimistic and happy and funny.
Yes.
And embracing his song.
Yeah,
his
he's
piano.
terrific.
And if you couldn't see it because you weren't watching live, he's great. Every time he finishes playing one of his songs, he kind of does this turn at the very end, and smiles.
Yeah,
and he's like,
it's a big finish.
there you go.
It almost felt like and that's where it resonates
you can
nicely.
See where the
because
songs come from.
You can see where the songs come from, and you could see in the movie when every time they act like, "What'd you think? You liked it, right?
Yeah.
Please say you liked it."
I think it's like he's really doing it for, to make people happy and joyous. And it makes him so happy.
Exactly.
It's wonderful.
Yeah, there's the purity there. So, all right, we haven't talked anything about editing. I don't know what else to say about editing other than
I feel like we've kind of
because it
gets lost because it's so
my
good.
only editing thing is the pairs.
Yeah.
And I don't know how happy I was about the flying on the horse backwards thing.
Flying on the horse.
When she's riding the white horse with Colin Farrell and she's backwards, and we get that shot like 4 times, so I felt like a ton of
I
times
didn't see
throughout
her
the
riding
movie.
backwards. Did I miss that?
Yeah, and they're like galloping.
It
through
was
the
like
fields,
Oh, I
and
see. When
she
she's
lets go flying,
she's
and it's like her
she's
hair
yeah, I see
is
what you're
growing
saying.
out, and it's,
Okay,
like,
I thought you meant
very-
when she was alone. I didn't see her. But
No.
You're talking about when she was riding on the horse with him. Okay,
with him.
so you've a little too sentimental maybe for you.
Maybe,
All right.
maybe.
Yeah,
And maybe in my head I was kind of like,
it's
I don't know how pleasant that would be.
yeah. I there's a couple times in the film where I was going, oh, nice edit, just because I've done so much of it. I go, that's a good one. I mean, silly ones like when we're I think we're in Disney Studios and they're singing, they're having a fun time or whatever, and then it all falls to pieces. I'm not exactly sure, and we cut right to Australia with Aunt so and so, and she's shaking out whatever, and that snaps us back into a reality of a different time and a different era, but it really clearly cuts us. I just thought it was a great little moment. Don't know why. Just loved
Stuck
it.
out for you.
Yeah,
In a
but there's
good
there's
way.
like 3 or 4 of those where I was like, it didn't take me out of the movie like, oh, I'm aware of the editing and that's amazing. I just went, nice, that's good.
You're like, I like that.
It is. It enhanced it for me. But
In terms of the editing, I think one of the best scenes was the end. Only because I thought the experience of going on the red carpet
yeah,
was so well done, and it felt like you were kind of going on the ride with her.
right.
Okay, but would you have been? I thought the movie was going to end there. I thought the movie was going to end with her linking arms with Mickey and going into the theater. I did not expect to get that next scene.
Yeah, I'm glad
I didn't
we did.
either.
I wanted
But
it though, because
you
I
know-
wanted her to find I wanted to know how she felt about this thing that she's hated at the board, and
And it was nice that she, didn't hate it.
No.
She found solace or
But
whatever.
in real life.
well, here's the thing: they say that she didn't like it, and that they also say she's seen it many times, well over 10. I've researched anyway. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've read. I was like, well, if you hate it that much, you're watching it a lot as somebody who hates it that much. So
She's just
I think
saying
her
she
public
hates it.
persona is that she hated, because I'm sure she hated certain things that they did.
Yes.
But I don't think, who knows? I don't know how she feels about it. I don't know, but who's to say?
She's a hard puzzle to solve.
But
so-
anyway, it doesn't matter, because I don't know that when she's sitting here in the movie, I don't think what she's hating or liking is the movie so much as I think it's a cathartic thing for her to re-experience that, because it's bringing up all
I
that
did
stuff
like
from
the
her
scene. I
childhood.
just really didn't expect
Yeah,
it.
I
I
thought it was
totally
great.
thought it was going to be over before
Yeah.
it was, and I was in a way, I guess, pleasantly surprised.
It's a little epilogue, so to speak. But
Mhm.
yeah, you would think that here I'm fine. The whole thing's about this thing. Boom,
Her
and we
getting
walk into the
movie
premiere and we're done.
starting, da.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, little bonus for you.
I thought
The
it
real
worked
bonus,
well.
though. Oh, sorry, Phil.
No, but I thought it was a nice surprise, but I can't imagine it without it.
Yeah.
Only because it solidified her full arc.
Yeah, you want to see her at least have some sort of a cathartic moment. You want that for her. At least I did. Go ahead.
I was going to say, did either or both of you stay through the credits?
Yes.
No.
Phil?
Oh, Phil! They
What did I
played one
miss?
of her tapes.
They
The real
played
tapes.
one
Oh, the
of-
tape. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
the tape.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw the
After
tape.
the
Yeah.
credits.
All right.
I
Because
thought
that
was-
happened. Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of when like the credits start rolling and then we cut to something.
Mhm.
This was right off the bat. So
Yes.
yeah, I remember that.
Okay.
Okay, good. And I thought that was a fun little
Yeah.
thing they added, and it really cemented kind of to me who she was. And this wasn't
Yeah.
exaggerated.
Little
Because
glimpse
to
of
me,
it.
they did make her nicer. A little bit.
Yeah,
And then
if
the
you
tape,
think about
the
it.
tape was.
I mean, that's the thing. How the people that are making that argument, how bad was she in real? We don't know. They could have whitewashed her like crazy.
Because okay, part of what I liked, so in terms of when they start, they brought in the way they made her whatever evil or whatever term you want to use is through facts, right? So how are you going to argue with something like, remember she says interior or exterior of
Yeah.
something and this and that, and you're like, well, nobody sees that. That's just the script.
Mhm.
Well, I see it. But no, you don't understand. That's how you write scripts. That's just the way it is. No one sees that. And so again, how are you going to argue with this woman who's
Yeah.
just so set in her ways that
And
how are you going to convince her this is how people write scripts?
You can't.
I see that. So, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so I thought that was, although very subtle, it's a great way to kind of bring that out because now you're just arguing with irrationality.
Yeah. You
you
can't.
just
You
have
can't
to
argue with
kind of-
crazy.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't affect anything, we just gotta let it happen.
Right. Move on.
Sure, we'll change it to, what was it? They write out the number or what?
Yes, it was like number 17
Yeah.
or something.
Number 17. Absolutely.
I thought that was
Alrighty.
fun.
Mhm.
Well,
All right. What else we got? Anything else? We've run our gamut. What else?
I
What
think
are
we've
the,
got
you want to
pretty
do
much
favorite
a-
scenes, or I know we always wait till the end.
Favorite scenes. I would have to say that I really do love it when her relationship with Ralph and everyone kind of collapses, and you get that she dances and she's up on her feet and everyone's happy, and the system prances and well, and she's like, she's dancing. She's dancing, because I think everyone felt that, and that they like let you see it. I really loved, and on top of that, I liked the little moments. I would say that to me, it wasn't as much about the pivotal scenes of like the mom walking into the river or anything like that, or even her walking into the theater at the end.
Right.
To me, I liked the little ones where she's outside in the garden under the tree.
That's what I was gonna point out.
Like playing with Ralph.
It's like
that was just such a fun little scene.
It was.
Or when she brought Mickey into sleep into bed because she like couldn't sleep.
Right.
I liked the little moments.
And
more
for me, it
less.
was, she is that child, she's still in touch with, or finally becoming in touch with, having to do, and I just love that scene.
And that's what stuck out to me, and that's always fun.
Yeah.
I like about the big drama.
It's
just
the moments that build.
I liked how she couldn't keep a caretaker.
Yeah.
No, because it kind of relates back to Mary Poppins. She's always looking for an exterior force to help her alive, and like she's the worst help I've ever had.
But I like the line
but she kind of reminds me of me.
Yeah, but she says you're more than capable of doing it, which is her line that she's been saying. So that was great.
Yeah, really. So that for me was the key moments. I think that it was, and my favorite line though was when she's talking about the rain, and so all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I like the rain." And she's in the car with Ralph, and she's like, "It brings life." And Ralph goes, "Well, the sun brings life too." And she's just like, "Be quiet," or something. And I thought that moment was golden because it was so true.
It was.
And
But I thought that I thought as much of forgiveness was a theme in this movie. I also thought that not judging people on their first. You know what I mean? Getting really to know people. I mean, Walt didn't know her. She didn't know Walt. She didn't know the driver.
They both had preconceived ideas about each other. That not only did they not know each other, they already had ideas of who they might be. Anyway,
but both their parallels. I think that the theme of attachment to what is family and how art becomes your family and how protective and how much invested, if something's really good, when people really care about it, and it's particularly in art and film and everything like that. When someone's really becomes so much a part of them, they do anything for it, that's when you get really good material. And I really appreciated that in this film.
I did too. I mean, there's just so many times, one of the things that I liked was Walt's father, right? As they're taking the tour, it was written there. Yep. And then obviously it ties back to, one of your favorite scenes, or at least from what you made it sound like, when they finally confront each other and Walt has that realization of why she's doing this.
Right. So in terms of this movie and all the movies out there these days, are we thinking this should be nominated for the Best Picture?
I would say yes.
I would too, actually. I really like this. There's a couple out that I really, really love. Uncut Save Mr. Banks. I would recommend her for people who haven't seen it. I saw that one recently. I would put that up there. I think that they're both just a little bit different than your average story, and I think they're fantastic. There's some very good movies this year.
Yeah.
I thought this was strangely inspirational. I don't know what inspires you to do, but it's nice.
So it inspired you. Did
I don't know to do what.
Yeah, but it's found it inspiring. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite movies? Is this making your favorite movies of the year yet?
This would absolutely be up there, along with Captain Phillips and a few others.
What else?
The World's End.
I put World's End up there. I don't know if I can put that one up in there.
Interesting. That's a
I'll
really
put 12
good.
Years a Slave up there.
Not me.
I know. I'm
Not me.
controversial.
Oh goodness, I'm gonna have to talk to you about this after.
All right. Well,
Okay.
That
All right.
That sounds
it.
like
We're
we're
being
wrapping
played
it up.
off. That's it. All right. Well, let everybody know if they have comments or questions.
Go to anatomyofamovie.com. Let us know what you're thinking. Obviously, we could talk a lot about the historical aspects of it, but
we could do a whole thing on Disney. Many people have.
Again,
we covered a lot. I'm sure there's
plotting,
much more to cover.
There's a reason why they call it plotting and things, because it's literally how you navigate the waters of story. We've plotted our own course here, and so hopefully we dissected enough for you.
Okay.
But let us know what you guys want. Keep the conversation going.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Movie Anatomy
I
on
can't-
Twitter.
There you go.
She doesn't
Can't
have a
speak.
Twitter.
No,
Sara Stretton, everybody. Sara Stretton. John
Thank you.
Comerford.
thank you very much, everyone.
We'll see you for the next dissection.
Okay.
Woohoo.
I'm opening. We have an eye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the rest of the Anatomy of a Movie staff, we would like to thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to email or tweet us. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been Anatomy of a Movie.
Thanks for watching Anatomy of a Movie on YouTube. For more on your favorite movies, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to let us know what you think in our comment section below here. Bye.